I'm 23, and the most popular girl at the university had just admitted that one of the reasons she threw a party for 40 people was because she wanted to see me. That was unexpected for several reasons. First, Madison Blake had never struck me as the kind of woman who needed to organize anything just to get one specific man's attention. People noticed her everywhere, anyway. Second, for the past 2 years, I had assumed her flirting with me was simply part of her personality. She smiled, talked my arm, borrowed my jacket, sat beside me, asked me to walk her home, sent me a picture of coffee at 7 in the morning with, "You're awake anyway." But Madison was so socially confident that I never wanted to become another man who mistook a beautiful woman's friendliness for an invitation. So I did nothing. And judging by the expression on her face now, that had been driving her insane for the past several months. We stood on a small second-floor balcony of the house she had rented near campus. Music played downstairs. Someone laughed in the kitchen. People moved past the glass door behind us. But out here, it was relatively quiet. Madison held the railing with both hands. Her long, dark brown hair fell down her back. She wore a dark dress that emphasized her narrow waist and feminine figure. Warm light from the room reflected in her brown eyes. Normally, those eyes looked at people with complete ease. Right now, Madison was nervous. I could see it. And it was so unusual that at first I didn't understand how serious the moment had become. Several minutes earlier, I had stepped onto the balcony to get my jacket, found her alone, asked, "Tired?" She looked toward the yard. "A little. Good party." "Thanks." Pause. Then she said, "You've barely been around me." I smiled. "Is that a complaint?" She turned. "Maybe. There are 40 people here. You're the host." I only needed one. I stopped smiling. "Who?" Madison immediately realized she had said too much. "Doesn't matter." "Madison." "What?" "Who?" She looked down. "You." And now we stood in silence. I clarified. "Me? Don't make me repeat it. I want to understand correctly." She exhaled sharply. "I like you." I didn't answer immediately. Madison continued more quickly. "For a long time, and I've been trying to hint at it, but you're either the least observant man in the state or simply not interested." "What hints?" Her face became absolutely stunned. "Are you serious?" "Yes. I invited you for coffee. We're friends. I sat beside you in every lecture. We're friends. I kept taking your jacket. You were cold. One time I asked you to walk me home when I lived 5 minutes away. It was late." Madison covered her face with both hands. "Unbelievable." I laughed. "What?" "I genuinely thought you were politely rejecting me." "No." She slowly lowered her hands. "No?" "No." "Then what?" I stepped closer. "Are you free tomorrow evening?" She blinked. "Yes." 7. "Why?" "Date." Now she was the one staring. "Just like that?" "You confessed. I've wanted to ask you out for a long time. I don't see a reason to spend another month circling around it." "A long time?" "Long enough." "Then why didn't you ask?" The honest answer was simple. "I thought you acted like that with everyone." Madison winced slightly. Not because she was offended, more because she had just heard confirmation of what she had feared. "I don't." "Now I know." We stood closer than usual. She looked at my lips. I noticed. Madison realized I noticed. Her cheeks became slightly pink. She asked, "And that's it?" "What?" "You asked me on a date." "Yes." "And nothing else?" I pretended not to understand. "For example?" She narrowed her eyes. "Daniel." "What?" "You're messing with me." "A little." She glanced at my mouth again. "What about a kiss?" I smiled. "Tomorrow." "What happens tomorrow?" "If the date goes well." Madison looked as though she was genuinely considering pushing me off the balcony. "You're a terrible person. You'll survive until tomorrow." I confessed first. "Exactly. Now it's my turn to do this properly." "I hate how confident you are." "No, you don't." She laughed quietly. "Not yet." I picked up my jacket. 7. "You're actually leaving? The balcony?" "Yes." "The party is still happening." She gave me a warning look. I stayed. I just didn't kiss her. Sometimes it helps to leave someone with something to look forward to. To understand how Madison Blake reached the point of confessing at her own party, we need to go back approximately 2 years. We met during sophomore year. She arrived late to a lecture. Every seat in the middle was occupied. The only empty one was beside me. Madison walked over. "Can I sit here?" "Of course." She sat. 1 minute later, she leaned closer. "Do you have a pen?" I gave her one. After class, she left with it. At the next lecture, she sat beside me again. I said, "You stole my pen." She looked completely serious. "Borrowed. For a week?" I was testing the quality. Result? Average. "Then give it back." She pulled it out. A small star sticker had appeared on it. "Better now." That was our first conversation. After that, we crossed paths more often. Almost everyone knew Madison. Not because she was trying to become a campus celebrity. She was simply the kind of person who could walk into a room with 20 strangers and know half their names within an hour. She participated in student events, helped organize charity evenings, knew people from different departments. She was invited to almost every party. She was rarely alone. At the same time, I never saw her treat less popular students badly. If someone stood alone, Madison was often the first person to approach. If a new student knew no one, she introduced them to people. She was popular because people felt comfortable around her, but men were constantly around her, some normal, some trying too hard. I had no intention of becoming another one. So, I spoke to her exactly as I would speak to any other person I liked. I didn't try to impress her, didn't agree with everything. If she said something ridiculous, I answered. One day Madison announced, "Pineapple on pizza is objectively good." I said, "You're beautiful, so people let you say too many things without consequences." She froze, then laughed. Was that a compliment or an insult? Yes. After that, she started sitting beside me more often. Her best friend was Sophie Carter. Sophie almost immediately began looking at me with strange interest. One day after class, Madison left to get coffee. Sophie stayed. She asked, "You really don't understand?" "Understand what?" "Nothing." Very useful conversation. Forget it. I later learned she already knew Madison was becoming interested in me. I didn't. There really were hints. I could simply explain every one of them another way. Madison texted at night. "Are you asleep?" Me. "No." Her. "Good. I'm bored." We talked for an hour. Sometimes Madison took my jacket. "Cold. You have your own. Yours is warmer. They're the same thickness. Yours has a better personality." She returned it several days later. Sometimes she sat so close our shoulders touched. One evening, during a movie with friends, she rested her head against my shoulder. I didn't move. The next day, Sophie asked, "And? And what?" She sighed heavily. Hopeless. The most obvious hint I still missed was the walk home. Madison asked, "Will you walk me?" "Sure." We walked 15 minutes. At her building, she stopped. "Thanks. No problem. You know, you could invite me to that thing sometime." I assumed she meant coffee. "Okay." "Okay?" "Yeah." She waited. I said, "Good night," then left. She later admitted to Sophie that she had wanted to throw her purse at me. Meanwhile, I was simply convinced. If she really liked me, eventually it would become obvious. Apparently, to Madison, it had already been obvious for a very long time. The party was her breaking point. She organized it after finishing a major university project. I arrived around 9. There were already a lot of people. Music, lights in the yard, someone playing a board game in the kitchen. Madison noticed me almost immediately. She walked over. "You came. You invited me. A lot of people promise and don't show. I'm not a lot of people. Confident. Fact." I held out a small box. "This is for you." She looked surprised. "What?" "Open it later." "Why later?" "Because there are 40 people here. Now I definitely have to open it." Madison had no patience when she was curious. She opened the box. Inside was a small silver pendant shaped like a star. Her smile disappeared. Months earlier, over coffee, she had mentioned that her grandmother used to call her Little Star. She had owned a similar pendant as a child, lost it in high school. I had seen this one by accident and remembered. "You remembered?" "Yes. I told you once." Apparently I was listening. Madison ran one finger over the star, then hugged me, longer than usual. Her face near my neck, quietly. "Thank you." "You're welcome." When she released me, she looked slightly unsettled. Throughout the evening, I kept noticing her nearby. I went to the kitchen. 2 minutes later, she appeared for water. I went outside. She came out too. I sat with friends. 5 minutes later, she was perched on the arm of the chair beside me. Eventually, I said, "You're accidentally ending up beside me a lot tonight." She raised an eyebrow. This is my house for the evening. Big house. And? Interesting geography of accidents. She pushed my shoulder. You notice too much. Not everything, apparently. Something else happened before the confession. A guy named Michael spent a long time talking to Madison. At first, normally. Then he started standing too close. She moved back several times. He moved closer again. I had no intention of making a scene. I simply approached. Madison, Sophie is looking for you. She looked at me and understood immediately. Right. Yeah. We left. In the hallway, she said, Sophie isn't looking for me. I know. Were you rescuing me? You looked like you wanted to leave. She stared at me. Do you always notice? Usually. But not my hints. What hints? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Nothing. 1 hour later, we ended up on the balcony, and everything finally happened. The following evening, I arrived exactly at 7. I didn't text from the car. I walked to the door. I had a small bouquet, not some enormous arrangement that required 2 hands, just nice flowers. Sophie opened the door, saw me, then the bouquet. Her face lit up. She shouted, Madison! I said, you could have just called her. I've been waiting 6 months for this. For what? Nothing. Madison appeared in the hallway. She wore a dark blue dress, fitted, knee-length. Her hair fell in soft waves. She stopped. So did I. I didn't pretend not to look. You look incredible. Her cheeks turned red immediately. Thank you. I held out the flowers. These are for you. Behind her, Sophie said, Oh my God, he's a functional man. Madison turned. Go away, Sophie said. I live here. Then go to another part of the apartment. I laughed. Opened the door for Madison. Ready? Yes. In the car, she rested the flowers in her lap. You planned everything? Of course. Where are we going? You'll see. I hate surprises. You're lying. Fine. I like them. The restaurant was small. I had reserved a quiet table. Not the most expensive place in the city. I didn't want to impress her with the bill. I wanted a good evening. Madison noticed the reservation. You called ahead? Yes. When? This morning. You were sure I'd come? You said yes. She looked at me. You really take words literally. Usually useful. I pulled out her chair. She sat. Again. What? You're behaving too correctly. Complaint? Not yet. Dinner was easy, despite the new context. We already knew each other, so there were no questions about favorite colors or siblings. We talked about why both of us had stayed silent so long. Madison said, I genuinely decided you weren't interested, because I didn't chase you around? Yes. Strange system. You don't understand. I'm used to knowing within about 3 minutes when a man likes me. And you enjoy that? She thought. Not always. Then why did it bother you with me? Because nothing was obvious. I liked you. I just wasn't competing for your attention. She became silent. There. What? You say things like that in a completely normal voice. How should I say them? I don't know. Warn me first. I smiled. Fine. Leaned slightly closer. Warning. She immediately looked cautious. What? You look very beautiful tonight. Madison closed her eyes. That's worse. You requested it. I changed my mind. After the restaurant, I didn't take her home. I drove to a small dessert cafe. She saw the sign. No. What? You remember? Remember what? That my favorite cheesecake is here. Of course. She watched me for several seconds. That's unfair. Why? You prepared too well. I wanted you to have a good night. Are you like this with every woman? I answered immediately. No. She raised an eyebrow. Why? I don't ask every woman on dates. Madison said quietly. There you go again. Forgot the warning. Exactly. After dessert, we walked for a long time. At the car, she didn't get in. She stood beside me, watching. I asked, Did the date go well? Very. Then I think I owe you something. She smiled. Finally. I placed one hand at her waist, the other against her cheek. May I? Madison answered immediately. Yes. I kissed her, softly at first. She had waited too long. Almost immediately, her arms went around my neck. She pressed closer, kissed me with more confidence. I pulled her closer by the waist. The kiss deepened. When we separated, she still held my collar for several seconds. Now that was definitely a date. I thought the flowers and restaurant had already made it obvious. The kiss was more convincing. I'll remember, she smiled. I honestly assumed you'd be bad at kissing. Why? I don't know. You're too calm. Those things aren't connected. I know now. The relationship began quickly after that. Not because we rushed. There was simply no point pretending. 1 week later, Madison asked, "Are we dating?" Yes. You didn't even think. Did you? No. Then solved. But I didn't stop courting her just because she became my girlfriend. Sometimes I brought coffee before an early lecture. She opened her eyes. How did you find me? You always sit here. That's slightly creepy. You're saying that to the person you've sat beside for 2 years. She took the cup. Thank you. One day I planned a picnic. She laughed when she saw the blanket. You actually packed a basket? Yes. By yourself? No, I hired 40 people. Very funny. I remembered flowers she liked, bands, places, food, but I didn't turn it into an obligation. If I was busy, I said so. If she was with friends, I didn't demand attention. If she wanted an evening alone, fine. And that, Madison later admitted, affected her more strongly than the flowers. She had seen men court beautifully at first, and then gradually expect all of her time. I didn't want to own her schedule. I wanted to be part of her life. Madison began investing too. At first I planned more. Then one day she texted, "You're free Saturday." Not a question. Me. Very confident. Her. Learning from you. On Saturday, she arrived, brought coffee, drove me to a small exhibition I had once mentioned, then bought my favorite snacks. I asked, "You planned everything?" Yes. Even the food? Yes. Why? She looked at me. "I wanted you to have a good evening." I smiled. "Sounds familiar," she said proudly. "I steal effective methods." Jealousy appeared once. After class, a woman from another course approached me. The conversation was ordinary, but she was clearly flirting. Madison saw. She didn't approach, didn't insert herself between us, didn't make a scene. Later in the car, she was quiet. I asked, "What?" "Nothing." "Madison." She looked at me. I didn't like it. "What?" "The way she looked at you. Are you jealous?" Pause. "Yes." I smiled. She frowned. "Why are you smiling?" "Because you could have invented 10 excuses, but you said it directly." "I'm learning." I took her hand. "I like that." "The jealousy?" "The honesty." She squeezed my fingers. "What about the woman?" "Not interested." "Good answer." "You didn't ask." "I'm still grading it." Madison looked completely confident to most people, but after several months, I understood. Popularity wasn't always pleasant. One evening after a large student event, she came to my place, removed her shoes, dropped onto the couch, said nothing. I brought water, sat beside her. Tired? Yes. Too many people? Too many. She closed her eyes. Sometimes I feel like if I stop being cheerful for 5 minutes, everyone will decide something is wrong with me. I didn't answer immediately. Madison continued. People expect me to organize things. Answer. Know where to go. Who to talk to. Smile. You don't have to. I know. Doesn't sound like you know. She opened her eyes. Sometimes I don't know who likes me and who likes the party version. I thought. You once spent 20 minutes telling me about a broken toaster. Madison looked at me. What? In extreme detail. It was smoking. You showed me photographs. It was serious. I'm still here. She laughed. Is that your version of romance? Yes. Terrible. I took her hand. I like you when you aren't performing for anyone. Her smile disappeared. I continued. You can come here and say nothing. Sleep. Be irritated. I'm not dating the girl from the party. No? I'm dating Madison. Her eyes became wet. She blinked quickly. Did you deliberately decide to ruin my makeup today? No. She moved closer, rested her head on my shoulder. Can we just sit? Of course. We sat for almost an hour. No music, no people, no conversation. After that, she showed me the side most people rarely saw more often. She could arrive wearing an oversized t-shirt, hair tied back, no makeup, drop onto the couch, say, I don't want to be interesting today. Fine. And conversation only if absolutely necessary. Excellent. And I want pizza. That is a serious demand. With mushrooms. Relationship over. She threw a pillow. The physical tension between us grew. Not immediately, but steadily. The kisses became longer. Hands became bolder. Sometimes stopping was difficult, especially the evening Madison spilled water all over herself. She came over for dinner, helped me cook, reached for a glass, caught the pitcher. Water poured directly over her. Madison looked at her soaked blouse, then at me. Don't. I was already laughing. I warned you. She hit me with a towel. I gave her one of my shirts. Several minutes later, she came out. She wore only my white button-down over her underwear. Long enough, but not long enough to make ignoring her easy. Madison noticed my stare, sat on the kitchen counter. You understand I'm practically undressed in your shirt and you're still cooking. I stirred the sauce. Dinner will burn. Your priorities are strange. I turned off the stove, walked over, stood between her knees, placed my hands on the counter beside her. Better? She smiled. Much. She kissed me first. I held her waist. She wrapped her arms around my neck. The kisses became heated quickly. Madison pulled me closer. I lifted her from the counter. Her legs wrapped around my waist. For several seconds, neither of us thought about dinner. Then I felt the moment beginning to go further than we had discussed. I stopped. Madison was breathing hard. What? I don't want our first time happening because you spilled water. She laughed. Very romantic wording. You understand. Yes. I lowered her. She still held my shirt. Do you want me? You? Yes. Very much. Her cheeks turned pink. Good. But I'm not rushing. She smiled. Neither am I. Kissed me once more. Then said, the sauce. I turned. Damn it. Sex happened several months after our first date. Not spontaneously. Not after a party. Not after drinking. Madison brought it up herself. We sat at my place after a movie. Her legs rested across my lap. For a while, she said nothing. Then, I want to spend the night with you. I looked at her. She was slightly nervous. Are you sure? Yes. Not because you think it's time? No. Okay. Madison frowned. Only okay? I smiled. I want it too. She relaxed. Then why are you so calm? Because if we're both nervous, someone needs to act like an adult. I hate you. Before we became intimate, we had an ordinary conversation. Protection, health, boundaries, what we liked, what we didn't want, that either person could stop, that there was no mandatory script. Madison listened, then said, this sounds like a lease agreement. Very romantic lease. The kissing section needs revisions. You can propose them. She moved closer. Now. She kissed me. The night began slowly, no rush. For the first few minutes, Madison joked too much. I already knew what that meant. She was nervous. At one point she said, I don't even understand why I'm laughing. Because you're nervous. No. I raised an eyebrow. Fine, slightly. I ran a hand along her back. We can stop. I don't want to. Then we don't rush. She looked at me. Then quietly, thank you. Gradually, the tension disappeared. She became bolder, initiated, pulled me closer, spoke when she wanted something different. I also stopped checking every second once it became clear she was comfortable. The intimacy was sensual, passionate, extremely personal, without any need to describe everything anatomically. The important part was something else. Madison, who could confidently stand in front of dozens of people, could be nervous beside me without being embarrassed by it. We stopped when needed, laughed, kissed again, never tried to create a perfect scene. Afterward, she lay against my chest. Her hair spread over my shoulder. I stroked her back. Madison asked, I have a question. What? Why are you still so calm? I'm not calm. She placed one hand against my chest. My heart was beating quickly. Her expression changed. Oh, evidence, she smiled. That's extremely satisfying. What is? Knowing I can actually make you lose your composure. You are literally lying on me after sex, which makes the evidence especially convincing. In the morning, I made coffee. Madison came out wearing my t-shirt, sat at the table. I think I officially stole something else. The shirt? Yes. You'll return it. No. I set coffee in front of her. Be ready at 7. She looked up. What? Tonight. We literally just... I know. And you're taking me somewhere again? Does sex cancel dates? Madison became silent. Her expression softened. No. Then 7. She stood, walked over, hugged me. You're a very good man, you know. Sometimes. Don't ruin it. Okay. That genuinely mattered to her. Later, she admitted she had been afraid the dynamic would change afterward. Not because she didn't trust me. She had simply seen too many relationships where the courting stopped the moment a man got what he wanted. Nothing stopped with us. The flowers stayed. Dates, trips, coffee, walks. Sometimes I texted, "Be ready at 7. Her, "Where?" Me, "Secret." Her, "I hate surprises." 1 minute later, "What should I wear?" Madison continued planning too. The relationship became mutual instead of a story where one person constantly pursued the other. Our biggest conflict wasn't jealousy, and it wasn't intimacy. It was her old life. Madison kept agreeing to everything: parties, events, organizing, birthdays, meetings, people. She was afraid that if she started saying no, she would stop being the Madison everyone loved. I didn't try to forbid anything. I only watched. One evening, she hosted another large party. By midnight, she looked completely exhausted, still smiling. I approached. "Come on." "Where?" "Home. This is my party. Do you want to stay?" She automatically said, "Yes." I looked at her. "Really?" Madison became silent. Then, "No." "Then let's go." "But the guests." "Sophie is here." Sophie happened to walk by, heard us. "I'll close everything." Madison looked at her. "Did you walk past intentionally?" "Possibly." 20 minutes later, we sat in the car outside a 24-hour diner. Madison ate fries. No music. Half her makeup removed with a napkin. She said, "I don't know who I'll be if I stop being the girl who always throws parties." I took one fry from the container. Madison. "What?" "My girlfriend, for a start." She looked at me. "That is horribly confident. Are you still dating me?" "Yes." "Then factually correct." She laughed, then became serious. "What if I become boring? You spent 20 minutes talking about a toaster. Again?" "I will never forget. It could genuinely have started a fire." "See, already interesting." She threw a fry at me. But after that night, she started saying no. Not to everyone, only when she didn't want something. For the first time, she wrote in the group chat, "Not tonight, I want a quiet evening." Then she showed me the phone. I did it. "Proud of you." No one died. Too sim to tell. And no one said they hate me. Remarkable. She lay beside me. "What are we doing tonight?" "Nothing." Perfect. Our final year at university passed calmly. We graduated. We didn't turn future careers into the main drama. We simply stayed together, kept dating, kept seeing friends. Madison remained social. I still preferred quiet evenings more often. We learned to compromise. If she wanted people over, 8 people on Saturday. Real 8 or Madison 8? What is Madison 8? 12. She laughed. Real 8. 10 arrived. I just looked at her. 2 came unexpectedly. Of course. A year and a half after graduation, we moved in together. Small apartment, 1 bedroom, living room, balcony, a kitchen where Madison immediately filled half the cabinets with decorative glasses we used twice a year. I asked, "Why do we own 12 glasses?" "They're pretty. There are 2 of us. We have guests." "Is that a threat?" "A promise." We agreed. 1 larger gathering at home per month. The other weekends would not turn the apartment into a branch of the student center. Madison agreed. Mostly. Friday dates became our main tradition, even after we lived together. Sometimes in the morning I said, "Be ready at 7. She looked over her coffee. "We live in the same apartment." "And? You can just tell me where we're going." "No." "Why?" "Because you like this." "I hate it." "What are you wearing?" She was already smiling. "A dress." Several years later, I decided to propose. No enormous crowd. I didn't want to put her in a situation where she had to react in front of 100 people. But I wanted to bring us back to where everything had started. So, I hosted a small party. Only our closest people. Sophie, several friends, our apartment. Madison thought it was for our anniversary. It was, just not only that. After 10, people began leaving. Sophie hugged Madison last, then looked at me, far too meaningfully. Madison noticed. "What was that?" "What?" "She looked at you." "Sophie looks at people often." "Not like that." "You're tired." "Daniel." Come to the balcony." She stopped. "Why?" "I want some air. You never go outside for air after guests leave. Today I do." She already suspected something, but followed. The balcony was quiet, city lights, warm evening. Madison leaned against the railing, then looked at me. "You chose the balcony intentionally." "Possibly." "Daniel." I approached, touched the small silver star around her neck, the same one. She still wore the pendant, not every day, but often. "Remember the first party?" "Of course." "You confessed first." She smiled. "Because you were hopeless. Debatable. Fact." "Fine." I took her hand. "Then this time, I want to say something before you." She already understood. Her eyes became wet. I lowered myself onto one knee. Madison covered her mouth. "No." "Is that a bad no?" She laughed through tears. "No. I mean yes. I mean, continue." Extremely clear. I opened the box. "I want to keep taking you on dates even when we're 70. She was already nodding. "I still want to buy flowers, even when we argue that they take up too much space." She smiled. "I want to pull you away from parties when you're exhausted, and go with you when you're genuinely having fun." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "And every time you forget who you are without a room full of people looking at you, I want to remind you." She whispered, "Daniel." "Madison Blake, will you marry me?" "Yes." Immediately. "Of course, yes." I placed the ring on her finger. She practically collapsed into my arms. I stood. Madison wrapped her arms around my neck, kissed me, for a long time. When she moved away, "You actually proposed at a party. You established the tradition. It was my party. Now it's ours." She looked at the ring, then kissed me again. Several months later, we hosted another gathering. Small, 10 people, or 8 according to Madison. Everyone left. I collected glasses. She came up behind me, wrapped her arms around me, rested her chin on my shoulder. "Remember that first party?" "Of course." I thought if I confessed, everything would become horribly awkward. It did. She pulled back. "What?" For 5 minutes, Madison hit my side. Extremely difficult period. I barely survived. She hugged me again. "Do you know what surprised me most?" "What?" "I thought I'd finally relax after confessing. And? Then you showed up exactly at 7 with flowers, opened the door, reserved a table, took me for my favorite dessert, and generally started courting me like a functional adult." I smiled. "And it got worse?" "Much worse." "Want me to stop?" She answered immediately. "No." "Good." Madison looked at the ring. "Where are we going tomorrow?" "Secret. We're engaged. Doesn't exempt you from dates." She smiled. "What should I wear?" "A dress." "Which one?" "The one that makes you feel beautiful." "There you go again." "Forgot the warning." She kissed me. The most popular woman at the university could have chosen almost anyone. At least, that was what everyone believed. But popularity didn't make choosing easier. Sometimes it made it harder. When you were constantly surrounded by people, it became difficult to know who wanted you and who simply wanted the attention of the woman everyone else noticed. One night, at her own party, Madison finally became tired of hinting. She stepped onto the balcony, and for the first time said directly, "I only needed one." That one happened to be me, and I did the only thing that seemed logical. I didn't make her chase me after the confession. Didn't behave as though I had won some kind of prize. Didn't turn the popular girl into a trophy. The following evening, I simply arrived exactly at 7, walked to the door, brought flowers, took her on a real date, asked before our first kiss, continued courting her after she became my girlfriend, continued after our first night together, after graduation, after moving in, after she already knew I loved her. And now, with a ring on her hand, I intended to keep doing exactly the same thing. Because a relationship doesn't end when someone says yes. That only gives you more reasons to keep choosing them, again and again, preferably at exactly 7.
40 people in the house, but you were watching for one. You follow me through every room like accidental. Geography was fun. Then out there on the balcony, you finally let it slip. I didn't need the whole damn party, I only needed you to show up to it. I asked what all the hints were. You stared like I had lost my mind. coffee jackets, walking home, sitting next to me every single time. You thought I've been rejecting you, I thought you were just being kind. Funny how two people can be looking straight at love and still completely miss the signs. Be ready at 7, I'm choosing you again. Flowers at your doorway, then somewhere we've never been. Even when you're already mine, I'll still ask you out like then. Be ready at 7, I'm choosing you again. Love doesn't end when somebody says yes. That's when you get 1,000 chances to mean it all over again. The next night I came with flowers. Sophie nearly lost her mind. You walked out in that blue dress and I forgot every clever line. Quiet table, favorite cheesecake. You said I planned too much. I said I wanted you to have a good night. You looked at me like that was somehow dangerous. Then beside the car you waited. Before I crossed the space, you said yes. Before I finished, then put both arms around my neck. You were used to men who chased you. I never wanted you as a prize. I just wanted to be the man who knew the girl behind everybody's eyes. Be ready at 7, I'm choosing you again. Flowers at your doorway, then somewhere we've never. Chances to mean it all over again. You could light up any party, know everybody in the room, then come home, kick off your shoes and say, I don't wanna be interesting tonight. So we'd sit without the music, order pizza, let the whole world wait. And I learned the version everybody wanted wasn't the woman I came home to date. You once asked what would happen if you stopped being fun. I said you'd still be Madison, and I'd still be the same one. Then years passed, different apartment, same Friday, tradition, same look when I'd say 7, and refused to tell you the location. One night I threw a smaller party, just the people that we loved. Waited till the room went quiet, then took you back where it began. Same balcony, same little silver star still resting at your neck. You looked at me before I knelt like you already knew what came next. I said, I wanna date you at 70, bring you flowers when we've run out of space, pull you from a room when you're tired, walk into one when you wanna stay. Then asked you for forever, you said yes. Before I finished again, be ready at 7, I'm choosing you again. Ring on your hand now, but I'm not letting courtship end. Even when we're old and tired, I'll still find somewhere to take you then. Oh, be ready at 7, I'm choosing you again. Because love doesn't end when somebody says yes. It's coffee in the morning, it's Friday after work. It's choosing the same person when nobody's watching anymore. Be ready at 7, I'll keep showing up like then. You only needed one that night, and I'll keep choosing you again and again. 7 o'clock, same two hearts, different year, different place. Still that look when I won't tell you where I'm taking you today. You ask, where are we going? I say, secret. You say, we're engaged. I say, and you smile, what should I wear? And after all these years, my favorite answer is still be ready at 7.